Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about living with CIDP. Of course, this could apply to anyone with a neurological problem or even an autoimmune disease. This is by no means a woe is me video. I'm doing this to try to help you out to see what adjustments I've made, and maybe those adjustments would help you as well. I'm going to be talking about a lot of different products in this video, and I'm going to put a link down in the comments so that you could buy these if you think they'd be helpful for you. So let's get started. Please don't forget to give a thumbs up to this video and subscribe to my channel. It helps YouTube get this information out to more people. If you know someone with an autoimmune disease, a neurological disease, please feel free to share this with them. I hope it will be helpful. So for me, the mornings are the most difficult. I wake up in the morning like a truck hit me, and it's tough to get started. It's more than just a stiffness that you would feel in something like a rheumatoid arthritis. It's just an overwhelming fatigue, tiredness, weakness. So there are a couple of things I have to do to kind of compensate for that morning weakness. So I know this is going to happen. So what I'll do is the night before, I'll lay out my breakfast. So I'll get the tea kettle ready with water filled, my teacup ready, the bag, everything. My cereal bowl, my knife and fork, everything gets laid out the night before, because I know in the morning it's going to be difficult to go through all that. I keep a walker or a cane next to my bed. That's helpful in case I get up in the middle of the night, because that's a rough time too. So if I need that walker or cane, it's right there next to me. That's very important. I have a long shoehorn that I keep hanging on my nightstand that helps me get my slippers on. And the slippers, even the slippers that I wear, have a special arch support in them. That'll be one of the things I'll link down there. It's so much easier to walk. I'm much steadier walking in those arch support slippers than I am in just a regular sandal or slipper. I wear a knee brace on my right knee. A lot of people, when they see me, they think, oh, what did you do to your knee? I didn't do anything to my knee. It's not my knee that hurts. I just can't feel it. So having that brace around it gives me a sense of stability. One of the things is called proprioception, where you know where your feet and legs are at all times until you have a problem with the nerves. And then you can no longer tell where they are. So that stimulation from the knee brace onto my skin of my knee helps my brain realize where my knee and leg is at the time. There is some weakness in that leg as well, so it does help a little bit with that, but mostly it's for the proprioception. Next up in my morning, getting into the shower. If it's a bad morning, and for months I didn't have a choice, I had to use a shower chair every day. And thankfully now I don't have to, but I do have to hold on to the rails. So I get into that shower very carefully, hold on to the sides of the walls, hold on to the rails, try to keep my eyes open as much as possible, because that's the other thing. Balance is very bad in this type of disease. So when your eyes are closed, that makes it even worse. So use a shower chair if you have to, hold on to things if you have to. I did buy a long handle loofah, so I don't have to bend down to reach all the areas. I also have a handheld shower head, and that helps me not have to, again, move around as much as possible. I can just hang on to that. With my left hand, I seem to hang on to that side of the wall or to the rail, and use that handheld shower head to clean off all the soap. Getting dressed can be a challenge. Not too bad. So what I'll do is to, put my underwear and my shorts on and my socks. I have to sit down. There's no more quick getting dressed, standing up and just throwing things on. Sit down, take your time. You don't want to fall over. Preventing a fall is so much easier than recovering from a fall. I avoid shirts with buttons. Since I've lost my fine motor skills, buttoning a shirt can be very difficult. If I have to wear a button shirt, I know I need to leave myself extra time. It could be 5 to 10 minutes before I can get that entire shirt buttoned. So try to avoid them if you can, but if you have to, just leave yourself some extra time. With the weakness in my hands, it's become near impossible to open a bottle or a jar. So I keep this around the house. This works great, from a small soda bottle right on up to a jar. It'll really help you to get the things open. I just don't have the strength in my hands anymore to do it. And then things like candy wrappers as you see here, there's just no way. I just don't have the strength to get these open. So I'll use a scissor to open it up. Even a snack bag, I'll just use a pair of scissors to open it up. No big deal. It's just a new normal. That's what you have to do. If I'm out somewhere and I don't have a scissor and I need one of those candies, I hand it over to my wife. I'm like, could you get this for me, please? Utensils could be tough, especially the knife. So it's a real struggle to get them up off a flat surface, and even to get it around to get it like that. So what I will normally do, if I can't get it off the flat surface, is just kind of put it towards the edge here, and so much easier. You have to plan out your naps. This is the one that kills me. I was never a napper. I worked my whole life, since 9 years old, washing dishes in my dad's restaurant, right up until this past October when I had to go out on disability. So being off work is tough, and napping is just so foreign to me. But I don't have a choice. I have a good window from about 9:30 in the morning until about 1:30 in the afternoon, and then I can't keep my eyes open. So I have to be somewhere where I can lay down, close my eyes, and sleep for 20, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. And that's been a big adjustment, but it's something you have to do. And there are worse things in life, believe me. And there are people with much worse diagnoses than what I have. And I understand that. But these are adjustments that you just have to make. This next adjustment, I don't like either. I can't pick up my grandkids, and that's tough. With the weakness in my arms and the unsteadiness of my balance, I would be afraid to pick them up. But I sit down on the couch when they come running into me, and I can give them a great big hug and kind of help them up into my arms and hold them on the couch. But standing up, that's something I just can't do. That's a big regret. But again, there's ways around that. I love you, Puffy. I have a right foot drop. This is when your foot is just what it sounds like. It's instead of being here, it's going to be a little weaker down here. So as I'm walking, instead of just lifting with my calf, I have to lift with my leg. And the danger of a foot drop is tripping. So your toes will drag a little bit instead of your foot lifting up off the ground. So I have to be conscious of lifting with my leg as I walk. It's very mild, and I'm very thankful that it's very mild right now. So I don't need an AFO, an ankle foot orthotic. So what these ankle foot orthoses do is give you some support and brings up the front of your foot so that as you walk, your toes won't drag and you won't have that risk of tripping. There are two kinds. I linked them both in the comments. One is for a milder foot drop and one is for a more severe one. The reason I'm not wearing one right now is because it's not severe enough for me to be at risk of tripping. And as you wear an AFO, even though it might be necessary, the muscles aren't going to be working as well as they should be because they're in the brace. So they're getting used to the brace doing the work for them, and they're going to atrophy even further. So if you don't need an AFO, I'd encourage you not to. But once you have that risk of tripping, then it's absolutely worth it. The risks and the benefits is what you always have to look at, and the benefits would outweigh the risks. So use the AFO if you have to. If I'm on an uneven surface to walk or in a crowded place like a church on Sunday morning, I either have to have a cane or hold on to my wife. Usually I'll hold on to my wife, especially at church. There's just a lot of kids, running around, and it's such a joyous time to be in church. But it is something that I always fear, being so unsteady that just the slightest bump could send me over. So I'll either have a chain or I get to snuggle with my wife, which is my favorite thing to do. Before this happened, my wife and I, as we were in for the night, would be like, is it snuggle pants time? And say, oh yeah, let's go. And we'd get into our pajamas and get on the couch or watch TV or do whatever we were going to do for the rest of the night. and we'd be real comfortable. I don't do that anymore. So I stay fully dressed. And the reason being is I'm much steadier on my feet when I'm in my sneakers and have my knee brace on. So to get comfortable and to get into the slippers is just makes it much tougher. So as much as I hate to do it, I stay fully dressed until I'm ready to go to bed. All these tips are great, but the most important thing is coming up right now. There was a woman named Corrie ten Boom. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she grew up in Nazi Germany. And I'll give a little summary of her life here. Her story is available in a book and a movie called The Hiding Place. Her family used to hide the Jews from the Nazis in a room in their house called The Hiding Place. And one day, the family got caught and the entire family was put in a concentration camp. She suffered terribly. The first 3 months Corrie was in the concentration camp, she was in solitary confinement, just going out of her mind, trying to remember the scriptures and praying to keep her sanity. She talks about how she had to live with the smell of death and not knowing whether or not she was ever going to see the light of day. Her dad died in that concentration camp very soon after she was in there. The lice was terrible. She talked about the lice and having her head shaved eventually and just all the terrible things that she had to live with. Well, when she finally got out, she would tour the world and tell the people about the grace of God and how wonderful God is. She was a Christian and she loved Jesus and she knew where she was going. She hung on to that. Matter of fact, in those concentration camps, she would hold Bible studies and see some of those people in there get saved. Many times after she would give her talk at one of these events around the world, people would come up to her and say, "Corrie, I don't know how you did it. I never could have gotten through that." And she would say, "No, you couldn't have. But not because it was me and not because of my strength, but because God wouldn't have given you the grace to go through something you didn't have to go through." And she would explain it this way. When she was a child in Germany, she would travel by train with her family. And her favorite thing to do was to hold the train ticket. And she would ask her dad, "Dad, can I hold the train ticket? Dad, can I hold the train ticket?" And he would say, "You don't need it yet. When we get on the train, I'll give it to you." And sure enough, right before they got on the train, he would hand her the ticket and she would hand it over to the conductor. And she explained that to explain the grace of God. And she said, I had to go through that. God knew I was going to have to go through being in the Holocaust, being in the concentration camp. And he didn't give me the grace to go through that until I needed it. And it's the same way when you have a chronic illness, whether it's neurologic, autoimmune, cancer, really anything. I've heard the story, if you could put all your troubles in a bag and walk into a room with all the other people in the world and pick up anybody else's troubles, you'd walk out with your own bag. And it's not to belittle having an illness or having a disease, not at all. But God's not going to give you that train ticket. God's not going to give you the grace to go through it until you need it. I remember laying on the couch during those months when my health was deteriorating so bad that I woke up each morning more and more paralyzed, scared to death that it was something like an ALS, scared to death that I was never going to walk again, scared to death that I wouldn't be able to swallow or speak. There were nights I'd be sitting on the couch, crying or crying out to God, "Please, this is too hard. I can't do this anymore." And I would cling to this story and know that God's not giving me the grace to go through something so terrible because I don't have to have it yet. And God's given me the grace to go through CIDP, to go through diabetes for 30 years, to go through what I've had to go through. God's given me the grace. I even remember when my mom passed away. Before she passed away, I thought to myself, I'm never going to be able to handle this. She was so close to me. We were so close. We lived together my whole life. She was my office manager for 20 years. We drove to work every day. We vacationed together. We did so much together. I thought it would just devastate me when she passed. And as tough as it was, God gave me that grace right when I needed it. And I gave the eulogy. I was able to stand up and not only give the eulogy, but talk about the love of Jesus Christ and how my mom had gotten to know him as Lord and Savior. and I knew where she is, and I know where she is. She's in heaven, and I'll see her again someday. So if you don't remember anything else from this video, remember that story of Corrie ten Boom, and know that God won't give you the grace to go through something you're not going through. And when you do have to go through something, that grace will be there for you. Please like and subscribe so YouTube knows to get this information out to those who need it. Share this with someone you know who may need it. I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. Thanks for watching, and God bless.